All right, so I'm just going to be working out these problems in case you get stuck. That way you have something to look at and see what happened and to help you out. All right, so remember, the first thing we want to do when we look at a rational equation, remember rational means fraction. So a rational equation is just an equation with fractions. Okay, so looking at these fractions right here, this guy and this guy, I would want to not let x be anything that makes any denominator 0. So for this one right here, I would not let x be 0. So x cannot be 0. And for this one right here, I would not let x be -2, because -2 plus 2 would be 0. So I'm going to know if I get those as answers, I am going to not use them. Those would be extraneous solutions if I got them as an answer. All right, so let's go ahead and think about our common denominator. So it looks like my common denominator here is x and x plus 2. I need every fraction to have both of those items. So for the 15, I need to give the 15 an x plus 2. So I'm going to give him an x plus 2. For the 9x minus 7, I will be giving him an x to make him have that common denominator. Put an x out there. And for the 9, he's going to need everything. He's going to need the x and the x plus 2. All right, so I know that's kind of tight writing in there, but remember, we've thought about what each fraction needs, so they all have this one common denominator. So now I can just drop the denominators and write down what I have. I have 15 and x plus 2 plus x times 9x minus 7 equals 9x times x plus 2. And now we solve. So I multiply out 15x plus 30 plus, this will be 9x squared minus 7x equals, this will be 9x squared plus 18x. And you might be thinking, oh no, this is horrible. But take a look. Right here and right here, we have a match. So those actually, they're on opposite sides and they're equal to each other, so we can cancel them out. Because if we subtracted, they would go away. So now I have a much easier problem. I got 15x minus 7x, so I have 8x over here plus 30 equals 18x. I think I'll just take away 8x over here. So I got 30 equals 10x, so x equals 3. And that is not one of my illegal answers, so there we go, x equals 3. All right, looking over to the right, my common denominator, let's look at my numbers first. So I got 2, 3, and 6. Okay, 2 and 3 both go into 6. So my common denominator is going to have a 6, and they also want an x. Okay, so I'm going to grow these things to be 6x. So that means the 2x is going to have to multiply by 3. So I multiply the 5 by 3. This 3 right here is going to have to multiply by 2x to get to be 6x. So I'm going to multiply this guy by 2x. This x right here is going to have to multiply by 6. So multiply him by 6. This 6 right here is going to multiply by x. Multiply him by x. So now I'm just going to write down what I found. So 5 times 3, I get 15 plus, no, minus 2 times 2x is 4x equals 1 times 6 is 6 plus 5 times x is 5x. All right, and I did forget about the domain. I would look around and I'd say to myself, what would make the bottom be 0 here? Or literally 0 would make x be 0, and 2 times 0 is 0. So I cannot accept an answer of 0 if you give it to me. So let's just see what we get. All right, so I'm going to add 4x here. At the same time, take away 6. So that means I get 9 equals 9x. Oh, look at that. X equals 1. So that's perfectly fine because it wasn't 0. So x equals 1. All right, on the bottom left, I'm going to have to factor this b squared minus 1 to make sure like what it is, but that is b plus 1 and b minus 1. So luckily, these two things combined are this piece over here. So that's my common denominator choice. So my common denominator is x plus 1, or no, sorry, b plus 1 and b minus 1. Okay, so this 1 right here is going to have to get a b minus 1. This one's going to have to get a b plus 1. And the 2 gets nothing because, like, he already has everything. So 1 times b minus 1 plus 1 times b plus 1 equals 2. So 1 times b minus 1 is b minus 1 plus 1b plus 1 equals 2. All right, look at this. The 1's cancel. B plus b is 2b equals 2. And then I get b equals 1. So everything seems great. I'm like, oh, I got an answer. But I forgot to check my domain again. So look up here. What would make these denominators be 0? -1 and +1 are no good to me. So b cannot be plus or minus 1. And look at this. I just got 1 as an answer. So this is actually a no-no. So I will say that there is no solution. The only solution I got was something that was not allowed. So I can't have an answer. There's no answer. All right. With this problem right here, we can, in our minds, these two fractions equal to each other. I think the easier thing to do is to cross multiply. Or you can say to yourself, hey, what do I need to make for a common denominator? Well, my common denominator is literally n plus 4 and n minus 1. So this guy over here needs an n minus 1. This 2 needs an n plus 4. Okay, so because that's what it doesn't have on the denominators. So I get 3n times n minus 1 equals 2 times n plus 4. But if you think of it as cross multiplying like I was saying, just look at it this way. It might be easier for you. You multiply 3n times n minus 1. There it is. You multiply 2 times n plus 4. There it is. And it doesn't matter which side you put. It doesn't matter which side you put each part on, but you got your problem to do. All right. So 3n times n is 3n squared minus 3n equals 2 times n is 2n, and 2 times 4 is 8. All right. And once again, I did forget to do my domain. My domain is that n cannot be -4 because that would cause this to be 0, or 1 because that would cause this to be 0. All right, so let's keep it up. I did notice I have a 3n squared, so that means I have to gather everything to one side and factor. So I'm going to take away 2n. I'm going to pop that 8 over there. So I get 3n squared, -3n and -2n make -5n, and the 8 popped over turns into a -8. All right, let's factor this. 3n and n. 8, let's try 4 and 2. So, nope, 8 and 1. Sorry about that. 8 here and 1 there. This makes a 3n. This makes an 8n. So, +3 minus 8 makes my -5 in the middle. So, negative here plus there. So, my answers are 8/3 and -1. So, those are both okay. So 8/3, I guess I'll put equals, sorry about that. I'll put n equals, but you could also write them as a solution set if you want. 8/3, -1 with these little brackets, you can write it like that. All right, so let's take a look at the last 4. So thinking about my common denominator business, looks like this guy wants an x, and this guy wants an x plus 2. There's my common denominator. Alrighty. So the x minus 5 is going to have to get an x. So he needs an x to match this denominator. The 2 needs to get everything. So he needs an x and an x plus 2. And the 4 already has an x on the bottom, so he just needs an x plus 2. Alright, so we got x times x minus 5 plus 2 times x and x plus 2. And then equals 4 times x plus 2. And before we go much further, let's look at our domain. I cannot let x be -2, and I can't let it be 0. X cannot be -2 or 0. All right, so let's work this out. X times x minus 5 would be x squared minus 5x plus 2x squared plus 4x when I distribute. Over here, I got 4x plus 8. And since I just got a 4x on the other side, let's cross off these 4x's. I can get rid of those. All right, so on the left, I got 2x squared and 1x squared, so it's 3x squared minus 5x equals 8. I'm going to pull this 8 over here. 3x squared minus 5x minus 8. Wait a minute. That's the same thing I just factored before on the last page. 3n squared minus 5n minus 8. So, we already know how to factor this, right? So I got 3x and x, we do 8 and 1 minus and a plus. So my answers are 8/3 and -1, and they're both okay. All right, over here on the right side, kind of similar to the last one. Well, not really. I have x minus 2, so my common denominator. I have an x minus 2 and an x, so I need both of those. And luckily, this guy is just a combination of those things, so he's not going to have to change at all. All right, so x minus 1, he needs an x, so he's going to need an x. 5 is going to need an x minus 2, because he only has an x. And 2 needs nothing. 2's done. So I got x times x minus 1 plus 5 times x minus 2 equals 2. All right, and my restricted values here, x's cannot be positive 2, nor can I use 0 itself. All right, so let's take a look. We got x squared minus x plus 5x minus 10 equals 2. So I got x squared, negative x plus 5x is positive 4x minus 10. So I'm going to have to take away 2. So I got x squared plus 4x minus 12 equals 0. All right, so 6 and 2, how about we're going to use? X plus 6 and x minus 2. That makes negative 12, but it also makes positive 4. So my answers are negative 6 and 2. Uh-oh. 2 is a no-no because look here on my domain. So my only answer is negative 6. That's the only one I'm allowed to say. So if you had a multiple choice that had a choice, like if choice A was, oh, the answers are negative 6 and 2, and choice B said the answer is just negative 6, it would be choice B. You can't include 2 because it is a restricted answer. It's extraneous. All right, so let's decide on my common denominator here. So let's see. This guy wants x squared, so I'm going to need x squared. This guy wants a 4, so I'm going to need a 4. And he also wants an x, but he can share that x squared there. All right, so here we go. So to grow the left side, I'd have to give him a 4. To grow the right side, I'd have to give him an x, right, to make 4x squared. All right, so we got 4 times 5 plus x equals 3x. And my restricted value, x can never be 0, because 0 squared would be 0, 4 times 0 would be 0. Okay, so we get 20 plus 4x equals 3x. Take away 4x from both sides. Get 20 equals negative 1x, so I get x equals negative 20. All right, which is fine. All right, over here, notice x squared minus 9 is x plus 3 and x minus 3, so it's just a combination of the other two. So my common denominator is those things, or are those things, x plus 3 and x minus 3. Okay, so this x right here is going to need an x minus 3. This 2 is going to need an x plus 3. And this guy is good. He has everything. So here we go. X times x minus 3. Plus minus. Minus 2 times x plus 3 equals x plus 1. All right, be careful with your distributive property because this is a minus 2 right here. So I got x squared minus 3x. And I have negative 2x minus 6, because it's a negative 2 times both of these, equals x plus 1. And I did forget about my domain. X cannot be plus or minus 3, because that would make these 0. All right, let's see. Clean up the left side. X squared minus 5x minus 6 equals x plus 1. So let's take away x. Let's take away 1. So I got x squared minus 6x minus 7. All right, so when I factor that, I get x and 7 and x and 1, because that's the only thing that makes 7. Negative 7 plus 1 is what works. 7 and negative 1, those are both fine. So x equals 7 and negative 1. And there you go. All right, I'll see you.